So this is your life to live. This is your life to love. This is your life to explore. We have not come here to play small. And I'm here to offer these teachings, the tools, and the processes. So I welcome you to 5 Keys to Awakening. It's a podcast show with your host, Dr. Rameet Singh, and celebrity host Jill Nicolini from New York Podcast.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back with Dr. Rameet Singh. Excited to have her here. And today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about meaninglessness to manifestation and really that rise to a joyous purpose for feminine. And, oftentimes we are left with feelings of, well, what's the point? And, why am I here? So why, we are seeking joy and purpose. Well, you know what? We should be, but sometimes you can't find it. So Dr. Rameet Singh here once again is joining us to talk to us more about this whole experience that many women and even men, all included, may be experiencing. So welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm very well, Jill, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, thank you.
it.
Pleasure to have you back. So before we get into today's show topic, let's find out a little bit more about you, what you do for new time listeners. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Dr. Rameet Singh, and what I do is I'm a divine feminine life coach. I've studied in counseling psychology, but really the essence of what I do is I like to integrate both mental health, spirituality, and the divine feminine energy, because that's really been lacking in the field of mental health. And how I do this is through many avenues, whether it's going into deep healing processes with each individual client. And also, I build a curriculum. It's a 4-month curriculum that took me about 4 years to build, where it's really looking at the different levels of feminine disempowerment and how to awaken feminine empowerment and really find your freedom and joy. So, the work I do is leading women through these powerful processes of mind, body, and spirit to find their joy, to find their freedom.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And all right, well, let's talk about why we end up getting into these meaningless types state in a sense, right? And what
Mm.
could be even causing this type of feelings and behavior in a sense.
So, Jill, over the past year or so, I've really been finding that a lot of people that I've been working with, even my friends that I've been coming across, um, are starting to share this feeling that they're having, which is a feeling of what's the point? What's my purpose? I don't find meaning in my life. And to really be very serious with you, there's been a lot of suicidal thoughts as well in the feminine energy, a lot of suicidal thoughts in the people that I've been working with and coming across, which is around I don't see a point to my life. And so when I started to see this coming up, and of course in my own personal life in my younger years, I had also gone through that as well. I really went into my deep meditation and I asked my inner feminine, my source, okay, what's happening here? Show me what's going on. And what I saw was that, like, right where the womb and the belly is, there's this heavy energy in the collective feminine, and it was sort of like weighing us down. And that heavy energy really was like the feminine feeling a complete loss of her own personal purpose and value.
Ah,
So when I went into it, I said, okay, show me, like, what is it that we can do to begin to shift out of that energy? What is it that I can share with my clients and also my friends and even my personal life? And I was shown in my own meditation 4 key processes to begin to help overcome that sense of purposelessness that makes us feel like we don't want to live. And I just want to share that when we have that sense of meaninglessness, we lack a spark in our life. We lack looking forward to life. And we also have these avoidance behaviors like sleeping in all day, not getting up in the morning, really avoiding life altogether. So this is sort of what I saw, and this is what I want to talk about, because more than just sadness and depression, this is more than just a sad feeling. This is an existential crisis that
oh,
many people are having, and because I work with the feminine, I'll be talking more about from that angle.
got
Yes.
it. Well, would you say then being, restrictive and not excreting our freedom can lead to sadness? And if so, what can we do to bring ourselves that joy again that we should rightfully have and
Yes.
feel?
Exactly. So that's a really good question. Like, is it restriction that causes us this? Like, what is actually causing us with a sense of purposelessness and meaninglessness? So there are a few key factors that I want to share here about what I've observed causes this from childhood all the way to adulthood. And the first thing that I've noticed that causes us this is, being brought up for many of us in a very restrictive environmental conditions. So what happens is that you're a little girl, you're growing up, you have all this energy, and because there is a caregiver, a parent, somebody that has a lot of expectations on you and is very much maybe controlling or even abusive in some ways, you grow up having this excessive anticipation of the other person's needs, so much so that you start to lose sense of what is my direction and what is my
Yeah.
want, what is my expression. And the reason why we as children may have such excessive anticipation of another caregiver's need to the point that we will modify our natural expression to please them is because we're afraid of the consequences if we don't, which is either rather they're
Mhm.
excessively judging us or blaming us or angry or making us feel guilty. So when this happens, Jill, what ends up happening is on a deeper level, there is a deficiency in the execution of personal will,
Okay.
creativity, choice, and agency. And when we grow up and we haven't had enough space to exercise our personal self, our individual self, then that leads to a loss of self, like to know thyself. We don't have that space to get in touch with how we need to be in the world. And the result, as I mentioned, is a loss of direction, personal purpose. And then we can develop a lot of loneliness as well because we're actually missing our own natural self expression. The spark has died and we don't see the purpose of living because we haven't been even living for ourselves. We don't even know ourselves. So a lot of people that I work with, when I ask them the question like, what's your joy, what
Yeah.
would make you happy, quite honestly and authentically, many of us don't know. We can't put a finger on what I want to do, what do I need to do. And the interesting thing, Jill, is that, for many of us, we've grown up, we become adults, okay, we start to have our job, we can make our own money, we're no longer living with mom and dad, and yet we're still living in an invisible prison, in an invisible restrictive
Mhm.
environment, because there's still a psychological pattern within us that's perceiving our life as if there are these restrictions. And as a result, for a lot of people that I work with, um, they have a hard time still knowing what they want, even though that environmental condition is no longer there.
Interesting. Well, what other things, what can we bring? How do we find the joy? I mean, really, if you don't know what brings you joy, what are some things we could figure out? Like, do we meditate? How does it come to you? What makes us have the joy?
Yes, good question. So, couple of things that we need to be aware of when we're trying to look for our joy. The first thing we need to be aware of is we need to look at what have I not been recognizing about my personal freedom, because personal freedom and joy come together. They go hand in hand. And personal freedom is your ability to recognize the fact that you are capable of executing power and will towards the direction of your desires. And I want people to begin to recognize that, have you been minimizing your personal freedom that's actually available to you? Because the pattern I see with a lot of us who are still unhappy and feeling purposelessness is that we don't recognize that we actually have so much freedom at our fingertips and that we could exercise. I'm choosing to be at this workplace. I'm choosing to work these hours. I can change it. I can change the way I interact. So the first thing is start to recognize and build up the sense of I am free. And then from that place, what really needs to happen is being able to tap into the sense of hope. Okay. And I want to talk about this really importantly here. What I notice is very linked to the sense of hopelessness, meaninglessness, purposelessness. The topic of today is that we have these micro images that our subconscious mind is constantly feeding us when we wake up in the morning. And these micro images are thoughts and images that make us feel that our future or immediate future is going to suck. It's going to
Yeah.
be It's gonna be like, I'm not gonna achieve, I'm not gonna be successful, I'm not gonna expand, there's doom ahead of me, I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna succeed. So we have to start to recognize, and these micro images are called self-doubts, these self-doubts. And these micro images that the subconscious mind shoots out at us, it affects and it zaps our life force energy and motivation. And so what ends up happening, Jill, is that we live in this state of contracted state of consciousness.
Mhm.
We live in a contracted state of mind, energy, and sense of self. And the contraction is a lack of belief of the infinite possibilities of what we can be and what's possible to us. So what we need to do to begin to shift this, Jill,
Mhm.
we need to begin to tap into the energy of hope. And to tap into the energy of hope, we need to start to reclaim our deservingness. And that will look like recognizing what have you not been allowing yourself to know that you deserve, and starting to use affirmations, for example, to say, I am deserving of this and this and this, really
Mhm.
tap into the deservingness energy. So, that's one main key to start to bring joy again, tapping into hope, expanding your sense of deservingness, working with the micro images that your subconscious mind is feeding to you around self doubts, and starting to change those images through visualization. And then, lastly, recognizing your personal power. Where is your power? What is your freedom? Sorry, freedom and power. And the last thing I want to say about that, Jill, is that the final ingredient here that really came through in my meditation was asking yourself, what are possibilities of joy? So when you can get up in the morning, or you're in your day, and you ask yourself, what's the
Yeah.
possibility of joy today? What is it that I can do tomorrow or the
Mm.
next year today that can be an opportunity to feel joy? And you might say, I go for my walk, or I have my favorite latte, or watch the sunset, whatever it is. You start to feed the subconscious mind
Okay.
images of hope. So that's the last sort of key that we can work with to really shift out of that meaninglessness state.
Got it. So we're also going to practice with our steps, right? Which then transform to patterns, as you say, and that's kind of how it works, right? To create and find that purpose again.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So I want to maybe actually lead some people through a process, a little
Sure.
a program here, process here. But before I do, I want to share one more thing here. Really importantly, when we haven't tapped into our sense of hope, this is linked to codependency. And sometimes we haven't made that relationship between
Mhm.
how we are in relationships and the lack of self-worth and self-belief in our life. And I had a personal experience when I was younger where I was very attached to somebody that was quite narcissistic, and they weren't good for me. But for some reason, my mind knew this person is not healthy, but I couldn't let them go because there were moments where they fed me a perception of myself that I loved, which is, I'm smart, I can be abundant. There was this high I would feel at times with this person, a great friend. And so I stepped back and I said, why can I let this person go? Like, they're not good for me. And the realization was because they were feeding me, because of the way that they were operating, a certain perception of myself that I loved, that I hadn't
Wow.
given myself. And so to lose them would mean to lose that sense of self that I loved having at times when I was with them. So then I asked myself, well, what do I need to do to capture that sense of self that I love feeling, that sense of abundant state of consciousness, or creativity, or worthiness that they would feed me at times, because just the way they were without that person. And then the message was simple. You need to begin to do the work of your worth, and you need to start to really elevate yourself to the space of feeding yourself the micro images of
Mm.
self-worth and self-value, by having hope of what's possible for you, of empowering everything you do, the positive sense of possibility and success, right? And as I started to do that, Jill, my spark started to come back. I started to feel
Mhm.
motivated and just more excited about life again.
Oh, Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you. Did you kind of want to walk us through
Yes,
the
let's
process and give us a little example of this type of work
let's
if
do
you want?
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes, I believe, so let's make this happen. All
Yeah,
right.
we're good. Go for it.
This is going to be a guided visualization for the audience members to work with here. And so we're going to get into a meditative space so I can really tune into the energy. Everybody can close their eyes, whoever's watching. Take a deep breath in. And so as we start to shift purposelessness, meaninglessness, lack of hope, the first thing I want everybody to recognize is, where is that energy sitting in your body? Can you sense it as a weight? And when you sense that feeling, the depressive state, as an energy in your body, maybe sitting somewhere, I'm going to have everybody bring their consciousness and awareness up above the top of their head. Up above the top of your head, you're going to imagine that there is like a treasure, a box. And as you imagine looking at that box and opening that box is a link to the infinite supply from source, the infinite supply of love, abundance, possibility, energy. It is a high frequency. And as you begin to take your awareness to that box, the message here that your higher self has within this beautiful box is, in order to heal that heaviness, are you willing to, first of all, accept love? If you can start to allow yourself to accept love, acceptance of love, then that heaviness in the womb and belly, wherever it is, will start to receive love. And that will start to then inform this heavy energy that's in the body somewhere, that you are deserving of more, you're capable of more. And so the second process here, as you're connecting to that box, which is the supply of source, is, are you willing to receive more? Are you willing to receive? And so the second step is, if I can receive, I can allow myself to accept love and receive from life, to know that I can receive and I can accept, that will start to automatically release and shift that heaviness that was in the body, in the belly, in the womb space. And as you start to really imagine now that there is an invisible line of thread between that box, all the way down the center of your body, linking all the way to that part of the body that felt heavy and sad and purposelessness. And that thread now is feeding the energy of source, the energy of love, and the energy of possibility. As that's coming through, you're going to now ask yourself these three questions. The first question is around hope and deservingness. So the question you're going to ask yourself is, if I knew I was deserving of more, if I knew that I was deserving of more, what would I give myself more often? If I knew I was deserving of more, what could I give myself more often? The second question is, if I had hope in my life, if I could have hope in my life, what would I see differently? What images would I see in my life changing? If I could call in the energy of hope, what would I see improving? Third question is freedom. If I knew that I was free, if I could really look at and ask myself, where am I free? What's my freedom? If I know that I'm a freed person, what different choices would I make right now? What different choices would I make tomorrow to capture and execute my freedom? The last question is this. If I knew there was possibilities of joy in my life, if I knew that there's certain things that I could do that would be possibilities in areas of joy, what would those things be? What would those things be? And you might take a moment and think about, well, if I create that beautiful, delicious cake, or I go ahead and post that video that I've been wanting to post and know that the right person will find it, if I can have images in my mind of what feels like possible joy, then I'm feeding my subconscious mind a new vision, a new possibility. So hope, freedom, deservingness, possibility of joy, accepting love, and receiving from source, from life, are all the ways in which we can start to transmute and transform the sense of meaninglessness, hopelessness, to hope, to possibility. And take a deep breath in, exhale out. Slowly coming back into the room, coming back into the space. Beautiful. Thank you. And how was that for
Mm.
you, Jill?
Calm. I feel good.
Mm,
And thank you for that. I want a little bit of water.
mhm.
Wow,
Yes, everybody
amazing.
drink your
So
water.
that's the process.
Yes, and Jill, when we sit down and we consciously work with the distorted thoughts and we consciously connect to infinite possibility, what ends up happening is that our energy field, our physiology, our mind starts to move into
Hmm.
a place of the expand itself. And that's the key to manifestations. Like all this, we talked about is like what does it have to do with manifestation? This is manifestation, the
Yeah.
ability to be able to have an expanded sense of self because of
Hmm.
hope, possibility, and the freedom starts to bring more life force energy into your body. Then manifestation can happen, because manifestation is also about how you are able to move towards what you want because you believe that it's possible. If you don't believe it's possible, you procrastinate, you don't see the possibilities. So manifestation happens when we're in an expanded state of self versus the contracted state of self. And the expansion state of self happens when we can start to feed our mind and our belief systems of possibility, of expansion, and of hope of what we can and what we can achieve. So these are the four keys that can help us with that. And I want to talk a bit about what the program, the True Feminine
Sure.
Rising, before we wrap up
Yeah,
here.
we got time. Go for it.
Wonderful. So the True Feminine Rising program focuses on four key pillars of feminine awakening. And this program is made for women that are on the path of spirituality, who might be working with their mental health, and also have had a call to work on the goddess energy or the divine feminine energy, right? And so, if that's been sort of your calling, this program starts off with the first month on empowerment, where we look at not just the empowerment from the Western psychological perspective, but also the Eastern perspective, which has to do with the chakra system, the solar plexus, the Manipur chakra, and there's a whole science and a whole metaphysics around personal power as it links to aspects of our energy body, which I love what talking about, right? And then the second theme I talk about is around embodiment, and this is about the fact that in order to really be in your divine, powerful feminine, you got to be in the body, because being in the body is where the magic happens, and being in the body is how and where we can actually pull from source into physical form what we want. And so, working with a lot of clients, I often found that there was a lot of like numbing, the disconnection, and leaving the body. And so that has to do, from the yogic lens, the root chakra, which is the Muladhara chakra. And the Muladhara chakra is the dimension of this physical plane of existence, and how we can anchor our consciousness into physical form, because many of us are flying around somewhere, right? And so this is the second theme. And then the third theme we talk about, Jill, is sacred sexuality and the womb space, and feminine creativity and pleasure, and drawing in pleasure and emotions. And so the sacral chakra is where um, we begin to really look at the womb space. In the yogic wisdom, we talk about it as like the cosmic womb, which we're connected to, which is where creation happens. And sacred sexuality is more than just having a partner. sacred sexuality for the feminine is about how she can draw in abundance from life itself. And then the last thing we talk about is the heart chakra. So releasing heart blockages and working on really what is self-love. So these are the four key themes that we work through in the program of the True Feminine Rising.
Beautiful. And if someone does want to work with you, how do you start? What's the process? What's the accountability factor? Let's talk a little about how that works.
Beautiful. So if you want to start, I actually have a masterclass that I've put together on feminine awakening power in the chakra system and a free mini ebook that is part of the course curriculum. And the ebook is about feminine power and 8 affirmations we can use to access this freedom of feminine energy. So you would go ahead and, look at the resources, and on that page, there's also information where you can contact me and book your 20-minute free consult where we can look at how will this program serve you. Plus, they will get a whole membership portal with all these resources and also into their inbox. And so there would be meditations and guided affirmation practices, ebook readings, masterclass trainings, a whole amazing curriculum on all this information that I love talking about.
Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here. Dr. Meet Singh, one more time, how can we reach you?
Yes, thank you. Reach me at my website, Dr. Rameet, Rameet.com. And also, you can also find a replay of this particular show and
Awesome.
also a little gift. You can check out my website. On my website, I have a little section called The Keys to Awakening. And on that section, you can find a gift for today, which is going to be a meditation for power that you can listen to and really tap into your power. And an invitation for a morning practice, a visualization that you can do to really shift out of these heavy states of being.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure really having you here one more time.
What keeps you limited and small? What has caged you? Break free from restrictions, access true feminine power, and live life on your own terms. If you've had the calling to go deep into your feminine awakening work, then learn about the True Feminine Rising program with Dr. Rameet, where we will integrate core belief system work, emotional processing, chakra healing, and goddess work. Embody powerful goddess energy and create life your way. To learn more, check out drrameet.com, DRRAMEET.com. Plus, the bonus masterclass and ebook on Divine Feminine Power, The Energetic Journey. And today's gift is a powerful guided meditation. Manifestation. Enter the abundance field. Shift your frequency and elevate your world. This meditation guides you into a space of increasing your light, frequency, and joy, and stepping into the next version of yourself. To download this powerful 45-minute free meditation, please go to the website, which is key7, K-E-Y, number 7, drrameet, DRRAMEET.com, or simply go to the podcast page, which is podcast, podcast, .drrameet.com. On this page, you'll be able to access the podcast, 5 Keys to Awakening. Go to episode 7, where you can then find the guided meditation.